Okay, we are live once again. For those of you who are with me or watching this later on, welcome to part 2 of my Halo run. The last one was a lot of fun. Glad to be back here doing this again. I can already see one person in the chat, Casual Gamer. Hello, thanks for joining me this evening. Yeah, last time we left off on the beginning of Mission 5 of the campaign. We're just going to jump straight back into it so I can, ramble on with my usual nonsense. So yeah, let's kick this off. If I'm not mistaken, we are only one mission away from encountering the Flood. And as an enemy type, I do have some thoughts on the Flood. I won't get into him until we get a bit closer to the time. But yeah, we'll discuss that when we get stuck into it. But good to be back again. I had a lot of fun with the last stream. A lot more fun than I thought I would. If I'm being dead honest, I thought it was just kind of going to be nothing but nerves and rambling, but turned out a lot better. Let me make sure I've got my controls set up okay. Yeah, they're fine. And we are back in. Do I have a pistol? Yep. Why am I using the assault rifle then? And away we go. Also, I have, for those of you joining me again, I have sort of tinkered with the audio a little bit more. Hopefully, this time round, we won't have any trouble as we did at the start of the last stream, where, things just didn't sound quite right. And the noise of the gameplay isn't drowning out the audio coming from my microphone. But yeah, we're really starting to get to, I suppose, beyond the sort of superficial sort of section of Halo. The first 4 missions that we've kind of got out of the way is they're very flashy, very action-packed, but they don't really dip too much into the lore and what's generally going on. So we're starting to get a bit more stuck into the story now. This is yeah, like I said, we're on mission 5 of 10. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do. This stream is going to go on for 2 hours from 8 till 10. I doubt I'll finish the game in this stream, and I'll probably finish the game halfway through the next stream. If that is the case, I will fill out the 2 hours by doing some Halo CE multiplayer online. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Casual Gamer, I see you mentioned the... Oh, Jesus. I see you mentioned the 10-inch Master Chief statue. Is that the Halo Infinite statue? I've seen something floating around on the internet. I liked the look of it, but I've not gone as far to pre-order or purchase anything just yet. But I think I know exactly what you're on about. There's sort of like a new thing floating around, but I thought it was kind of part of a special edition for Halo Infinite, so I wasn't quite sure when it was actually releasing. But if that is the one you're talking about, that one looks very cool. I've never been too much of a figure man myself, but that is mainly because it's just always an issue of space, less because I think the figures don't look good. I think so. Casual game. I think so. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I bought it out of impulse. Yeah, completely understand. It is a very cool looking statue. But I'm glad, as you mentioned, you kind of talked about my stream sort of piqued your interest in getting stuck into these games again, which I'm always happy to hear. There can never be enough people playing Halo, in my opinion. But I would say that, I guess. Oh, we need to deal with this guy very quickly. Did he just fall off? I have never seen that happen before. Well, that's a problem I don't have to deal with, so... yeah. Yeah, Reach. I've never actually done. And you notice you said there, casual game, that Reach is your favourite. I've never actually done sort of like a ranking. And I kind of like all of the Bungie Halos for various reasons. Obviously, CE is the classic, and 2 is where the multiplayer kind of takes off, and 3 is sort of like the finalising of the trilogy, and ODST is kind of like this really cool break from the norm, and Reach, to me, is where Bungie essentially takes all of its best elements and kind of mashes them together in one game. Because they at that point they had made 4 of them, and they sort of know what works, know what doesn't work, and have learnt a lot of lessons through development. It's the best visually, looking. A lot of the facial animations and sort of like that tech takes a real step up in Reach, and I think the campaign is possibly the most balanced and varied, and that works really well in its favour. In terms of, sort of like the abilities and stuff like that, I've never been too hot on those, but it's still a fantastic campaign. Whether I get stuck into it on this stream will be, a different question. Just because I'm generally trying to stick to games from this specific generation of PS2 and original Xbox and stuff like that. Yeah, if you've not played the rest in the series, obviously the Master Chief Collection is a good one. And I am just slapping the shit out of these grunts. Yeah, Master Chief Collection is obviously a good place to start with that stuff. 2 has its faults, but because I was around at the time and sort of remember picking it up on release day and all that stuff and getting stuck into that game back then, it's always going to mean a hell of a lot to me. But yeah, I can definitely recognise its faults. The same with 3, to be fair. But I've played these games enough to know the good parts and the bad parts. We've not really got to the bad parts of Halo CE yet, but they're coming. And once again, Marty O'Donnell's wonderful soundtrack kicking in. The trusty pistol doing the job as ever. I think there's... Indeed, music is spot on, casual gamer. Yeah, once again, for anyone in the chat, if things do sound a bit rough audio-wise, or if one thing's too quiet, one thing's too loud, feel free to let me know. But based on my previous stream and how I've altered things, I'm hoping that they'll be fine. try and reach that from here. Bad idea. Yeah, I just need to get a little closer. There we go. Wraith done. Let's get back over to this warthog. Oh, well, maybe the ghost. No, I blew it up. Okay, we crack on. Where did I drop my pistol? Where did I drop my pistol? I've lost it, I've lost it, I've lost it. Never mind, rocket launcher will do. Let's flip this, get some of these boys in the vehicle. And we push on. His health isn't too great, but with any luck it won't matter. Oh, little elite got away there. Oh god. Alright, good stuff. We push on. Oh, nice little drift kill. Shoot that guy. Shoot that guy. Come on. You can do better than that. Alright. See, again, you know, something that I've touched on quite a bit when going through this playthrough is just sort of, hey, this was impressive back in the day, even though it's not so impressive now. And, yeah, the variety of, you know, considering the last mission was on a beach and featured a beach, an indoor sort of alien structure, and a, you know, sort of like grassy hills and all that stuff, and now we're kind of like snowy mountains and trees and all that jazz. Like, it's, you know, and the scale that it's kind of doing it on is still kind of impressive. I know I'm playing the, you know, the remake, the remastered version, so things are kind of cleaned up somewhat. I don't know why I'm messing about in this warthog and just haven't got in the Scorpion, but no, I don't need the controls. Everybody on board. Actually, yeah, see what the things look like. See, yeah, I was talking a lot of mess about the updated graphics in the last stream, and the natural stuff doesn't look too bad. You know, the ice looks good, snow looks good, trees look good, mountains and, you know, whatever you would call this, the rocks and stuff like that, they look decent. Obviously, they've taken a step up. I still, you know, lean more towards the original visuals, but you know, certainly nothing to complain about. I think it's more just kind of weapons, man-made structures, and sort of character models where I feel like the detail grows in such a way that it feels a bit, I don't want to say messy, but just busy. And this is where I've got to be careful, because even though the tank does a serious amount of damage, oh god, yeah, it can be quite easy to just sort of like get taken out of nowhere in this game sometimes. There are definitely sections that I feel like the first few missions, as they should, they you know, they take it relatively easy on you, and then as you progress, there are a lot of sections where things are just not so forgiving. Sometimes in a frustrating way, sometimes in a bit of a boring way. But, yeah, I'm not even going to bother trying to fight this guy. Let's just take out these hunters. Oh, sorry, accidentally killed one of our marines there. Didn't mean to do that. Apologies. We'll send some flowers to his family. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Let's go. Did I open that door? Yes. Yeah, I know what you mean, casual gamer, about, having a PS2 at the time and not really getting the opportunity to get stuck into Halo when it was first released. I think that was the case for a lot of people. The original Xbox didn't sell great, and the brand of Xbox sort of got off to a pretty slow start. So much so that Xbox, I don't want to say they gave up on it, but they very quickly moved on to the 360, so that they could get out ahead of Sony and get their next generation console out first. And they sort of took the lessons they learnt from that first console, and made a better one. And the 360 is, turned out to work very well for them. It's just it's a shame some of the missteps they took with the Xbox One sort of hurt the brand. But yeah, Halo is a very replayable sort of, or easy to get into game from a historical perspective. It's straightforward, 10 missions of a campaign, very shooty. You're in, you're out, and that's pretty much how it goes. Josh Mitchell in the chat saying he would argue that the 360 is the best console of the modern generations. Yes, you can certainly make that argument. That's not an outlandish thing to say in any way, shape, or form. Because in terms of, how it sort of, I don't know, it changed things. It gave everybody sort of like, for a lot of people it's their first console just because it came out first. It was cheaper than the PS3. It had Halo 3 and, introduced a few other series like Gears and Fable and Forza and all that sort of stuff. And it almost positioned itself as more of an entry-level console than the PS3 did. Not to mention the PS3 getting off to a bit of a slow start with their exclusives. So yeah, the 360 had a lot of great games, and apart from missing out on stuff like Uncharted and Last of Us and your Infamouses, all those sort of like PS3 exclusives, it didn't really lack too much. And Xbox Live was always kind of the dominant online service. Well, from a console perspective, at least. So, yeah. And I feel like, I'm going to be dead honest, if I die, I'm always very disappointed if I ever die when I'm in a tank, because, I'm already a 7-foot something Spartan with a ridiculous amount of augmentations in terms of power, reflexes, all that stuff. And then you put him in a Scorpion. Like, there really should be only one clear winner there. So, yeah. I generally try to get through these areas without dying. I almost made it through the entirety of last stream without dying a single time. But sadly, I think a sticky grenade took me out, and then from there it was, game over. But missions like this, I don't know how entertaining this is to sort of watch. Probably not very. But missions like this are a sort of like good example of the what would sort of later be known as like the Halo formula. There's why did you stand there? There's missions on foot, there's missions in tanks, missions in warthogs, missions that focus on a sniper, missions that occasionally give you the ability to fly in a banshee, and it's in some ways you can argue that it's a bit like too tick boxy, and you're just sort of going, all right, we need this, 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 and this. But at the same time, it works, and I don't know why it works, because every oh, he doesn't know I'm here. We're both invisible. I was going to slap him on the back of the head, but yeah. The formula just seems to work. Yeah, you're right. Casual game, I did have trouble in that doorway. That's where the sticky grenade got me. Yeah, the formula that Bungie seem to use, at least, seem to work, and I'm not sure quite how that's going to play out when it comes to Infinite. Halo Infinite is going to be super interesting to play, because especially after these delays and them potentially going back to the drawing board. I mean, we don't really know when that thing is actually going to release. It's just 2021. My personal opinion would be that if you're saying 2021 with no date, then that would mean that they don't even know. Nice shot. I'm happy with that. Yeah, if you're saying 2021 and no date, then I would imagine they don't even know what date it's actually coming out, and they're just sort of trying to buy as much time as possible. Oh. Yep. Casual gamer in the chat. Infinite will be the game I buy this Series X for, or any Gears game. Yeah. I think, you know, those two are big for a lot of folks. Infinite, as someone who is as big of a fan of this franchise as I am, I was gutted to hear when, you know, Infinite was getting delayed, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, you know, what's the old Miyamoto quote? A delayed game is eventually good, but a bad game is always bad. And I couldn't agree with that more, as much as it pains to, you know, sort of have that stuff be pushed back by like a year. Or, well, potentially a year, we don't actually know. For all I know, they could drop it in April. But I highly doubt that, because Halo is very much a November type of game. Here we go. See, the grunts are just... the grunts are literally just cannon fodder. I'm pretty sure in the lore that's all they're supposed to be as well. They're not actually supposed to be fierce, sort of like enemies. They're just, you know, they're the equivalent of like dogs for the Covenant. I want to say one of the early books describes them as sort of like tenacious, but they're not too smart. They just kind of like come in numbers, but as soon as you take out the big guy, they all just lose their shit. Which again, you know, another good part of Bungie's, you know, sort of AI and games design there, of just sort of, you know, take out the leader and your scrap with the Covenant will be much more easygoing, because the rest of them will just not know what to do. Which, you know, again, doesn't seem like a big deal now, but certainly had its charm back then. I'm not sure why I picked up the plasma pistol, if I'm being honest. I've never really used it, but I had to go with something. Okay. Bit more useful than I remember. Casual gamer. By the way, good review of Extermination. Thank you very much. Always good to see people enjoying the stuff that I put out. That was a very interesting game for me to play. And it could not have been more of a throwback to how games were made in sort of, you know, that period. Which, even though the game itself isn't amazing, it sort of has this like historical value to a certain extent now, because it's such a great time capsule of gaming in 2001, which is weird. I tend to run into a few of those games now where it's sort of like, well, this isn't fantastic, and you shouldn't buy it unless you're super curious about this generation and you know how things were made back then. And yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, but yeah, 3 out of 5 on that one. Yeah, I should say, for anyone, if there's anyone in here who isn't familiar with my other stuff already, I do weekly reviews on YouTube of 6th generation games. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube at Retro Game Rater. Well, it's always the same name everywhere, so no trouble there. Okay. I want to say that this bridge I always have trouble on because I'm pretty sure that there's a couple hunters down at the back end, and this here, this narrow space, is awful for trying to dodge their sort of plasma cannons, and you know, everybody's throwing grenades and all sorts of stuff, and it gets a bit tricky. But with enough ammo in my pistol, I should be okay. SPDC ROM in search of followers, primes and views. Come on, bigfollows.com. Yep, that's a link that I'm not going to click. Even though that message looks 100% legitimate, I'm going to pass on that opportunity, sir. So I hope you're not offended. Oh yeah, there they are. They're all across that bridge. I'm not even going to bother. Is this where the hunters come out the door? Nope. There's a couple of elites there. And then the grunts just lose their minds. Oh, did not mean to throw the grenade. They really need to throw me another decent weapon at some point soon. Or some ammo, because I'm getting quite low. And this may be a good time for... Oh, there we go. Finally. Ammo. I've not got a lot of pistol left, so I'm going to have to switch to the assault rifle, unfortunately. It's not going to be very accurate, and I'm going to burn a hell of a lot of ammo just trying to get single kills of elites, unless I can sneak up off... there we go. See, you just got to have confidence in your abilities and everything will work out okay. Oh wait, there might be pistol ammo there. Is there? Yep, there is. Okay, 8 shots in the rocket launcher and 120 in the pistol. We're good to go. We can take on anything. And I was going to say, before I ran into that batch of ammo, that this might be another good opportunity for what I did a billion times on the last stream, which was, let's compare the graphics for a moment. And again, this just looks really busy, and it's really sharp, and it's you know, some nice lighting stuff, and they've tried to add a little bit of character there, but there is something about this that almost looks more mysterious and kind of like, I don't know how you made this giant sort of like smooth structures, rather than this where it's kind of like you can see all the individual parts put together. And this design sort of links up better with the latest stuff that would come in the when they sort of explore the Forerunner sort of design in Halo 4 and 5, and other bits like the comics and graphic novels, all that stuff. But yeah, it's just a bit too busy for my liking. But I could just be an old man talking absolute nonsense. Maybe some folks prefer it, but I thought that rocket was going to kill them all. Yeah, I could just be an old man talking nonsense, really. But get through these structures. I'm not looking forward to when the game basically doubles back on itself. Oh, there they are. There's the hunters. And we just got to get across this bridge as quick as possible, because if they start firing off plasma cannons, it's a wrap. Oh. Did that get him? Did that get him? I don't know, but I'm low on shield. I have to move now. Casual gamer saying he thinks the thinks the old visuals look more authentic, and yeah, they do. Well, I suppose they're always going to look more authentic because that's the way Bungie designed them, and then somebody else came along and put their own spin on it. And in a lot of ways, the original design is the only way it is, because obviously the limitations of the consoles and the systems at the time. I'm sure Bungie would have loved to have had a lot more detail on these walls, sort of similar to this, if they could have, but the console just didn't really allow for it, especially because they turned everything around so quickly from the from it being like an RTS to a first-person shooter and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, the way the aesthetic works in this game, or in these earlier games, is much more sort of mysterious and interesting to me than this. Because this just feels like adding lines for the sake of it. Like, I hope what I'm trying to say gets across there, of just kind of like what's been changed. But as I've said, you can eat a rocket. As I've said, I am no game developer. I do not possess their skill, and as a result, it would be very shitty of me to talk badly about them. Badly about somebody else's work, to any great extent. But personal taste, I see we're up to 5 viewers now. Thank you to whoever's in the whoever's in this stream with me and watching along. Appreciate you all joining me this evening. And yeah, hopefully you're enjoying my amateur run of Halo Combat Evolved. Oh wow, and just as I said, amateur. If you thought I was just self-deprecating for comedic effect, there's your proof. Oh, you're kidding me. Yeah. Alright, let's try this one more time. There we go. He's done with it. I don't remember there being so much rocket ammo on this mission. But very grateful of the health pack. You know what? I've been running around with a pistol for so long. Let me... To avoid boring you all to death with you lot just witnessing me absolutely destroy people with the pistol. I'll switch to something else for a little bit, and Bury it up. Don't even need to burn ammo at all on these guys, especially at normal difficulty.
Appears to be increasing. We must be close to the control center. Analyze it. This must be the control room.
Okay. Oh. Now there is a way.
Control center is at the top of that pyramid structure. Bring me up there and I should be able to get us inside.
I feel like I've got to concentrate now. I am getting smoked. Run away, Chief. Run away. Yeah, weapon design, casual gamer. Or sorry, weapon sound design. Very good. So we did. I think I may have touched on that a little bit in the previous stream. Just how important it can be and how much you can win me over when it comes to good sound design. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. God damn it. You know what I'm going to try this time is just rush straight for this Banshee.
This must be the control room.
Because I might be able to get straight in here.
Is at the top of that pyramid
Get in, get in, get in. And we're off.
be able to get us inside.
I want to say this is where I'm supposed to go. It might not be. But I've stole the Banshee regardless. No, I think I've come here too early. Never mind. We shall use it to make a little shortcut instead of scrapping with everybody on that bridge. No, I probably should have stayed in there a couple seconds longer. Yeah, I think I was going to say I'm not looking forward too much. There is a point in this game where things basically just do a sort of backtracking section, and you kind of go through a few areas backwards. And I'm never a fan of them. And I always find myself in the second half of this game sort of not rushing it, but because they're less sort of open spaces, and they become, oh, I've gone the wrong way, because they're more less open spaces and a bit more linear, and I know exactly where to go for the most part, it's very tempting to not just sort of sprint through and hope that you can just like skip past a bunch of enemies at one time without sort of taking too much damage. And generally what ends up happening in that scenario is that you try and sprint through and you end up dying anyway, and die enough times that it just ends up being the same amount of time as if you had been careful and sort of like slowly took everybody out. But yeah, on this stream I'm going to do my best not to die too often, because that could get very boring or funny one way or the other, but I wouldn't want to repeat too many sections for you viewers. I will do my best to make sure that Chief does not go down, because really a lot of the time it is just kind of about being careful, and there are some troubling sections where I think the game can be quite unfair, especially once we encounter the flood. And as I said, we'll cover that when we get to them, because they're just in the next mission. But yeah, for the most part, when it comes to fighting the elites and the Covenant as a whole, you can get away with most stuff as long as you're careful.
Let's get up there. We should commandeer one of those ghosts.
Now we have to get up to the top of the structure. So let's just start moving. Got more hunters. Did I get him? Now he's gone. Long shot. Wonderful. The rocket launcher in this game is incredibly slow. but almost in a satisfying way. Like, you really have to time your shots sometimes to, you know, make the connection with some of the ammo on here, because, well, at least for Halo 1, Halo 2, lock-on and stuff like that gets involved. I suppose it becomes less a thing about timing and, you know, more just about getting the right opportunity to lock onto a vehicle, but there is something very satisfying to get rocket kills in here from a distance. Get here, there we go. Anyone got a gun around here? Anybody at all? No. Somebody needs to give me a gun because I've got 3 rockets left and I do not plan on... There we go. A ludicrous fool in the chat once again says, sorry I'm late, do not apologise at all. Just happy to, you know, have you here. Yeah, very happy to have anybody in the chat, really. To be fair, from what I hear from a lot of people who start streaming, it's streaming to absolutely no one for the first, like, month or so. So the fact that I've got anybody in this chat with me at all is, yeah, that's pretty darn cool. Especially last stream, I think last stream I think we managed to get about 14 people at one point, which is crazy for my first. So, you know, thank you, like, sincerely, you know, to everybody who's, you know, sort of been in here with me on the last stream or on this one. Honestly, you know, it does mean a lot. I'm very new to this. Why am I staring this cannon in the face? Yeah, yeah, means a hell of a lot. So happy to have you all here. So I'm still incredibly new to this whole process. I'm hoping to make it more of a regular thing, and you know, the fact that anyone, whether you know me from YouTube, whether you know me from Twitter, or whether you've just come across me randomly on this platform, the fact that anybody's willing to listen to me talk about games for more than the 5 to 8 minutes that I put up on YouTube every week is mad. I was going to use a different word there, but oh, he fell off. Fantastic luck on my behalf there. Ludicrous fool. How things been today? Yeah, good. I can't complain. So it's one of those questions that's very hard to answer nowadays, I suppose. Everything's a bit crazy, but, you know, I'm going to die. No, yeah, alright. Yeah, how am I? I'm good. Better than most. And as I said on the last stream, I still have my job. And I'm still able to play games, so I am blessed, man. I don't know why I opened this door again, knowing that I've got to face this elite, and I've got nothing but grenades and a dream. Because these boys take some doing to get down, and even when they do die, they don't drop any weapons, but I think there's some at the top of here. Less about me, how is everybody else doing in the chat? I hope you're all getting on okay and staying safe. And yeah, and getting through this time as best as possible. I'm terrible at small talk, is what you should take from this. I'm also terrible at playing Halo, based on that last 30 seconds. I need a weapon. I need a weapon, and I'm not even trying to quote Master Chief there, but I've just done it inadvertently. Yep, I've got nothing. I've got an empty needler, an empty rocket launcher, and I have 6 grenades. So I'm going to have to be very quick and steal somebody else's weapon. Go. And if I could just take down this guy. Oh, God. Alright, jump out of the way. Grab that. Oh! And I did say earlier that I was going to try not to die a lot. That's not going very well at this little section here. but we'll get through it together. Oh, needler ammo, needler ammo. He needs to die. Where is it? Where is it? Get here, get here, get here, get here, get here. Reload, Chief. No! This must be terrible for you all watching. I'm playing on normal difficulty. Do you know how embarrassing that is? I'm playing on normal difficulty. This is an absolute disgrace. Like, I consider myself the Halo guy. Well, I'm not really the Halo guy. There are a lot of people out there who know a lot more about this series than I do. But in my own social circles, yeah. Okay, I've died enough times here. I promise I'm going to get it right this time. Get that grenade straight in. And again, and again. Yes! Alright, he's done, he's done, he's done. Big guy's out of the way. Let's get some needler ammo. And then let's leg it. Let that shield recharge. I had literally a sliver of health there. A gust of wind would have killed Chief in that scenario. But now we've got a needler and everything's going to be alright. Should probably pick up this plasma pistol. Is that going to hit? Yes, Jesus Christ. I sometimes go through these games without using the Covenant weapons at all and forget how useful some of them can be. Except for in this scenario, apparently. Come on. Oh, God. Okay, chat. My day's ludicrous full. My day's been alright. I had a statistics exam today, which was annoying to finish because I'm having to share my workspace with my mother, who took a call during the exam, and I could hear both her and music playing from downstairs. Yeah, boy, am I glad I've got my exams out of the way. Hope that went well for you, though. Yeah. Well, actually, to be fair, exams, it was coursework that I was less keen on. Exams, I always kind of felt like, you know, I'll just revise as much as physically possible and just, you know, hope for the best. But, yeah. Taking the exams in this pandemic doesn't sound too great either, so I'm gonna die again. I'm sorry, folks. Oh no, I'm not. We're still alive. We're still kicking. And I do realise in the last section I did say, or I did promise that I wasn't going to die another time on this section. So we're only 2 streams in, and I've broke a promise to those viewing. So I should probably apologise for that. I don't hope to make that a regular thing. I'll never lie to you again. I say, like I'm an abusive boyfriend. Where's the ammo? Where's the ammo? Where's the ammo? Yeah, ludicrous full. Remote learning sounds like it sucks. I completely understand. I mean, I've been working from home during this whole thing, but, you know, that's a bit more easygoing. Then again, remote learning would have been better for me personally, because I never concentrated at all because I was too busy trying to joke with my friends. So, but for some, yeah, I can imagine it sucks. They have a, there we go, plasma pistol.
Scanning. Covenant forces in the vicinity have been eliminated.
This mission has taken me a hell of a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I thought I'd be done with this mission in 25 minutes. Casual game asks if I was the class clown. Class clown, no. I mean, you know, I always wanted to make folks laugh, but and not in a hey everybody look at me sort of scenario. It was just kind of among my own social circles. Like I didn't hate school. School's awesome. Just got to hang about with my mates all day. It was a great time. The work, all of the work, was just secondary. I basically just got sort of straight C grades because that was the bare minimum that I was told I had to achieve to get to college. So I was like, okay, you want C's? I'll give you C's. Can I go mess about with my friends now? Okay, see you later.
So, what sort of weapon is it?
What are you talking about?
Let's stay focused. Halo, how do we use it against the Covenant?
And now here we get stuck into a bit more of the, I suppose, the narrative of, kind of finding out what Halo's about and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully, again, as I said, the audio is okay and, it's all coming through all right.
No, that can't be. Oh, those Covenant fools. They must have known. There must have been signs.
Slow down. You're losing me.
The Covenant found something. Buried in this ring. Something horrible. And now they're afraid.
Something buried?
The captain. We've got to stop the captain.
Keys?
The weapons cache he's looking for. It's not really... We can't let him get inside.
I don't understand.
There's no time. Get out of here. Find keys.
Go, Chief, go.
Before it's too late.
I mean, it's already too late. Oh, my thing went dark there. Okay, here we go. Sorry, before we get stuck into that. Ludicrous Fool, with remote learning format, I also feel less motivated to do work. Completely empathise with that, as somebody who's been working from home for the last 6 months. Boy, is it easy to lose concentration when you know nobody is watching. Yeah, so we now arrive at mission 6, and we're about to get stuck into or introduce the flood. And I suppose, yeah, I've been saying this whole stream, oh yeah, I'll talk about the flood, and my thoughts on that sort of like enemy class when we get to it. I'm still not quite there yet, but don't worry, it's coming. And there'll be plenty of time. Apologies. There'll be plenty of time for me to discuss the flood because I'll most likely die a fair bit when we get to them. Also, what this is a good opportunity for, again, another episode of... Look at this graphics comparison. Let me just finish off this jackal before. So yeah, we've got this little section here. In fact, this level is almost like the perfect example of how things have changed visually and how things have been added. We enter this sort of like damp, dingy forest sort of area, and in the original graphics there's a little bit of fog there that may have been there for technical reasons, so they didn't have to load the assets in front of you, or it could have just been there for atmosphere, but it works. It works. And then we switch to the anniversary graphics, and again, now I feel like I'm on the planet from Avatar. Don't get me wrong, this still looks like an alien planet. This still looks like something that is not from Earth. But I don't know. Does the sort of like the intimidation from it disappear? Like I can't see that far in front of me. And everything's a bit too, yeah, as you're saying, casual gamer in the chat, things are a bit too bright. Now, don't get me wrong, this grass looks better than that mud texture. That tree's probably got more detail to it, although I can't really see it too much in this sort of like dark setting. And this to me looks intimidating. This to me looks scary. This to me looks like something out of like Fable or whatever, like a fantasy game. But I will say a million times that I have a tremendous amount of respect for anyone who works on this sort of like anybody who does anything creative, anybody who does, especially when it comes to games design, games development, or whatever, it's an industry I have so much respect for, and I do not mean to come across as disrespectful in the slightest when I'm talking about these people's work. It's just, as someone who is very familiar with this franchise and this series, you notice things. Also, what I didn't notice, as someone who's played this game a bunch of times, is that I have done a complete circle and come back on myself, which is maybe the first time in history where I've got lost in this little section. Ludicrous Fool in the chat. Things like fog were technical for technical reasons. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Of just kind of like, you don't want the draw distance sort of has to be brought down a bit, because essentially, games back in the day just couldn't load things up at that pace, or at that scale. It's something I encounter a billion times with the channel and the video reviews I make from week to week and stuff like that. And sometimes it works to good effect. There are some games where it doesn't quite work, and they're not supposed to be sort of like dim or scary at all, but they still have this sort of like fog and really sort of like shallow draw distance where you can only see about 100 yards in front of you, if that, and it just looks it looks terrible. I think Starsky and Hutch, I reviewed about 2 weeks ago now, had that issue where you're supposed to be in this bright, colourful Californian city. I don't know why I said the California city. California is a city. You're supposed to be in this sort of like fictional version of California, and it's supposed to be all bright and colourful and saturated and almost like borderline cartoonish. But the draw distance is so close that you can only see like a few buildings ahead. Another quick graphics comparison. I mean, I don't even have to say anything at this point, but I'll try not to drag on the developers too much. And we're up to 7 people, 7 viewers right now, which is effing fantastic. I'm going to try not to swear too much on Twitch, because I don't actually know the rules for swearing or anything like that. I'm going to assume it's not a problem, but to avoid any risk of being banned at all, I'm just going to stay clear of it. Oh wow. If you're wondering why I keep accidentally throwing grenades out of nowhere, it's because I have my Xbox Elite controller set up to a very sensitive setting on the left trigger, which is great when you're pulling the trigger of a gun, not so great when you're throwing a grenade, or accidentally throwing a grenade. A bit close to these. Let's use the assault rifle. It's not the best weapon, but we've been using the pistol far too much. So yeah, up to seven viewers. Effing fantastic. I was expecting more like 3. So this is, yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining me once again. And yeah, I mean, well, I suppose we've covered for Ludicrous Fool and Casual Gamer, if you're still in the chat, sorry, which of the Halo titles you've played. But for the rest of you in the chat, feel free to let me know your thoughts on Halo CE and the franchise at large. I promise I won't take offence if you think the Halo series is awful, but then again, why would you be watching this stream unless you're just very fond of my voice? Oh, and we've got this guy again. Or not again, but who has incredibly bad aim. Oh no, you just got to get a little too close to him. Oh. He stopped shooting me. I'm clearly here to help. I'm 100% one of the bad guys, the good guys. Do we kill him? Do we kill him? I mean, he's lost his mind clearly, so I don't think he's going to be any good to anybody from this point forward. You know what? We'll just there we go. Good night, sweet prince. Ludicrous Fool. Starsky and Hutch is also one of the few games on the Xbox to run at 480i, which is odd for the system. Yeah, I think I mentioned sort of last week. Oh yeah, it was last week in the last stream about sort of the Xbox is actually does have a lot of variety for kind of what it can do in terms of resolution and aspect ratio and stuff like that. It was sort of an underrated feature. And I do intend, I've not quite got round to it yet, but I do intend to eventually get a composite cable for it so I can test out the sort of the more HD set. I think it can it go up to 720? 720 or 480, one of the two. But yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to try out. I know there are a few games like Burnout and Black and all that sort of stuff that can run in a higher resolution, which is like technically HD, but not actually HD. Anyway, let's get into this cutscene. And here they come. Well, not just yet. We've got to go through the whole, you know, Johnson and his team discovering them, but which is maybe a good idea for me to actually, instead of just sitting in silence while the cutscene plays, it's maybe a good idea to explain my thoughts on the flood. So, right. Okay, kids, let's get real for a minute. The Flood are an interesting... They're an interesting sort of enemy to fight in some ways, and they're a fun idea. The concept of them as you add them into this game halfway through. Nobody knows they're coming. You know, at least nobody who, you know, isn't in the know. You know, nobody knows they're coming, and it switches up the game sort of like halfway through and adds this whole new element and enemy type, whether it's you fighting the Floods or you fighting the Elites and you fighting the Elites and the Flood, da 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 da. My trouble with the Flood is that I feel like they break the rules a bit by both being zombies and sort of normal enemies. And what I mean by that is you fight the Covenant. The Covenant have their weapons. They can shoot back from a distance, and they play this game where they dodge behind cover and they sort of like, you know, stay away from you unless they've got an energy sword. They keep their distance, and you have your firefights at sort of like medium range, and that's all good. You know the rules. You know sort of like how far you need to stay away from them, and if one of them does come a little close to you, just dash a grenade and, you know, hopefully that does that, or deals with that. As I said earlier, you can kind of take out an elite and all the grunts scatter because they don't know what to do after their leader has been killed. Now, compare that to the Flood, which I say this as someone who loves Halo with all of his heart. The Flood are both, as I said, sort of like zombie type enemies and also normal enemies at the same time, and for me that kind of breaks a gameplay rule in my own like internal made up logic that no one else follows, in that if you're going to have a zombie character, you have to, for my personal opinion and what kind of makes the gameplay look fun, you have to make them sort of weak but great in numbers and not have projectiles that they can fire at you, because as soon as they have projectiles they can fire, it almost breaks the game, because you have this enemy that is now charging at you in sort of great numbers, relentlessly just kind of ploughing straight towards you, while also shooting weapons, and that's where things start to break down a little. Obviously they're nowhere near as accurate as the Covenant. Sometimes they are ridiculously accurate, but for me, I feel like it could have been they could have been a better enemy if they were just a swarm like they are supposed to be. You know, they're an infection. They just kind of take things over, and just kind of, you know, take over everything that they go near. You know, they say in Halo 3, one flood spore can, you know, destroy a whole planet and da 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 da. And there's all that kind of like lore about them and where they've come from and whatever. But the fact that they're able to shoot and swarm you at the same time, that's where there are parts in certain missions where things break down a bit, and it's a lot about just sort of riding your luck and hoping that they're not as accurate as they sometimes are. But at the same time, I understand probably why Bungie gave them weapons. I suppose, you know, to a certain extent, they probably couldn't have the large swarm of enemies that they wanted to, just simply for limitations of the console. So, unlike today, where you could probably put 100 zombies on screen, back in 2001, that's not happening, especially if you're developing this in like 99, 2000. There's no way you're getting enough zombies type, you know, creatures like the Flood. There's no way you're getting enough of them on screen for them to be intimidating without being able to shoot you. It's just when they start shooting you, but you're also sort of like backing away and sort of like spraying your assault rifle or whatever. And one of them slaps you in the back of the head, and then you reload, and another one hits you with a rock. It all just gets a bit too like, okay, let's rein this in a bit, lads, because, you know. So I hope I've explained myself clearly there. I still enjoy fighting the Flood, just not as much as the elites. The elites and the Covenant in general are much more interesting to fight because it feels like more of a fight. This, whenever I fight the Flood, it feels more like a scramble, which I suppose is the intent when you're fighting an enemy like this. But you know, the way in which they just kind of charge at you. I mean, these little creatures, I can't even remember what these are called. I've never actually looked up the individual sort of like classifications for the different sort of like classes of Flood. These little ones are more than fine, and you can have like 20 of them on screen at one time, and they don't really do much. But yeah, when you get to sort of the bigger guys, which are essentially infected humans and elites and hunters, all of those type of folks, yeah. Hopefully I don't run into a section where things get a little too frustrating. But I tell you what, we'll see how it goes, and as I said, we will get through it together. And here they come. But yeah, as much as I've probably just spent about 5 minutes there talking about how I potentially don't like the Flood, from a narrative perspective, I do like the Flood, because I think they, you know, they just kind of introduce a bit of a new element to everything. And oh god, yeah, they sort of freshen up this game halfway through, and I had no clue what was going on the first time I did this section. Like, what a great little twist to just, you know, I feel like it wasn't really something that I saw too often back then, of just a game getting halfway through its campaign and being like, okay, we've sort of kept this secret from you, and now we're gonna throw this new enemy type at you. Well, I kind of take back what I said a minute ago. I thought they couldn't really get enough enemies on screen to be intimidating as just a swarm without weapons, but there was quite a lot of people down there. And this section always drags out a little long for me, so I'm going to try and get through it as fast as possible so we can hopefully squeeze in one more mission before the end of the stream. Don't worry, for those of you watching, my I don't I don't intend on finishing a stream halfway through a mission. My OCD won't let me do that at all. Because I never turn off a console halfway through a mission. I'm not sure who does that at all. That just seems wrong in every sense of the word. Yeah, we are burning, absolutely burning through the time here. Just like last Wednesday, the stream just seems to be flying by. No, I only feel like I've been playing for about 15 minutes. It's actually almost, you know, an hour and 15. Right, where is the door I need to go through? Because I don't want to hang about with these lot too much. I'm not being stupid. I'm pretty sure I came through that door. And this one has the red markers on it, so I'm assuming that means it's locked unless it's broken. Nope. Do I jump up here? Or is this where I came from originally? I went through that door. I think it's that door I've got to get to. Go. Just had to turn on the bridge. See what you can achieve when you just stop for a minute and actually think about what you're doing. Instead of running around looking for any door that you see first. Oh, yeah, this is not going well. Sorry, Ludicrous4, I just completely missed your last message in the chat. Yes, many Xbox games support 480p, with some running at native 720, and even a few titles support 1080. Oh, I'm going to have to look up what few titles there were that actually support 1080, because I was not aware of that at all. Yeah, I'm aware. Do you know which games run at that level? I mean, I know there's Burnout, I know there's Black, I know it's all kind of late 04, 2005 stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, as soon as I can get hold of a component cable for my original Xbox, I'll certainly be testing a few things out. But, I did some research on what cables were good and which weren't, but I never fully got round to actually making a purchase. And I can't remember of the company that I was going to purchase the component cable off. I heard some good things from for anyone who does follow him on YouTube. Is his name Metal Jesus? Yeah, for those who aren't aware, that sounds like a really funny name, but it's a dude who's a bit of an expert on the 6th generation, and yeah, he has long hair, like he belongs in a metal band, and refers to himself as Metal Jesus, I want to say. Why am I so lost again? Alright, let's try. That door's locked. That door we can't go through. Let's try this one. 1,000 apologies for how boring this must be, watching me get lost in a game that I have played 2 to 3 times every year across the last almost 20 years. I should really be doing a lot better. Right, are we getting anywhere? We're back here again. Oh, God. Locked door, locked door, locked door. Let's try going up here again. Okay. Well, we tried going through that door over there, and we called the elevator, and it crashed. It did nothing. So unless there is something I missed, because I swear I just always used to call the elevator and go straight back up. To press? No. Okay, so it's definitely not that way. Ludicrous Fool in the chat. Atari Anthology, Dragon's Lair 3D, Enter the Matrix. Wow. MX Unleashed, MX versus ATV Unleashed, and Siberia all support 1080p. Wow. I had no idea that Enter the Matrix, of all games, supported 1080p. Okay. Top door, bottom door, top door, bottom door. We need to get out of here because I've burnt way too much of all of your valuable time in this section. I just got a loading thing. Alright, we're back here again, and I'm assuming that door below was going to take us to this spot as well. That's where we just came from. That door is locked. That door looks broken. This door is locked. Why am I struggling to get out of this fucking facility? I'm sorry, I just swore. This is mental. This is actually mental. I've never ran in circles so much in my life. Oh, are we onto something? Are we onto something? I don't think we are, but we can hope and pray. No, we are back here again. Am I? I think I'm losing the plot. We came through that door, and I don't know where to go next. This is embarrassing. Or is it? Alright, let me just confirm. Is it this door here? I think, okay, I know where we're going. I always had it under control, guys. I don't know why any of you ever doubted me. We have found the way. We have found the way to go. Praise be to... Oh, now we've got a shotgun as well, so that's going to make the flood a tad easier. Here is the lift that I always go up. So yeah, sorry for wasting your time there. I'll try not to do that too much. Is the lift going to move? No? Okay, let's just go. Good time to read the chat. I should also note that while Enter the Matrix and Siberia technically output 1080i, the actual internal resolution is upscaled 480p. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Enter the Matrix is a interesting game, to say the least. I've reviewed it on my channel roughly, I want to say 2 years ago, and it was a good game to revisit, but that's about it. I played that game a hell of a lot back in the day, but not so much. You know, after returning to it after so many years, you start to notice, you know, the flaws in some of the games that you used to love. And to be fair, I think a lot of my love for the Matrix games were down to just I was obsessed with the Matrix for some time, but who wasn't back in those days? Remember the good old days when we were hopeful that those sequels were going to turn out okay, and the Matrix was going to be sort of a new generation's like Star Wars, pretty much. Wasn't that a great time? First saw that trailer of Neo spinning around, taking on all of those Agent Smiths, and yep, then you got to the cinema and they were doing all of that faux philosophy stuff. And you were kind of like, oh, okay, this is one of those movies. Cool. Is that door is that the door? That one's broken and busted open, I feel like. Oh, get over. Right, you're done for. Oh, I can't get up that way. Maybe I have to go through a different door. Oh, cheers, Ludicrous Fool, for sending through that link. I'll be sure to check that out. One of my main focus for it really was Burnout. That was one of the main ones that got me curious about it. Boy, do I love some Burnout. And I'm still waiting on the series to make a return. Have I just gone in circles here? Alright, oh, I think I know where I needed to go. There we go. Just got to make sure we don't fall down any of these glass panels. And we're off. Sort of. Does this energy bridge work? It does. Fan-bloody-tastic. So yeah, I mean, you can kind of see here when the floods, when the flood are just a swarm and they don't have weapons, I kind of enjoy fighting them. Possibly there's an argument to say that I probably enjoy fighting them because just a little bit easier to scrap with. But the scramble that it is when they don't have weapons versus the scramble that it turns into when they do have weapons is night and day, and it's really hard to enjoy moments of a game when you just keep dying again and again.
After we lost contact with the rest of the mission, we headed for the RV point, and then these things, they ambushed us. We got to get out of here.
Yep, you got ambushed. I get it. It's fine. Let's just get out of here. I've got a pistol. I've got a shotgun. Let's get into these woods. Come on, boys. We're going camping. Casual gamer, you think the Matrix was more interesting during the Millennium Bug? Well, yeah. And God, I've not thought about the Millennium Bug for quite some time, so I appreciate that reference and bringing it back to the forefront of my mind. Or back to the front of my mind, I should say. Jumbling my words. Now, this is kind of one of those sections where I think I can just push on and not even really bother too much with scrapping people, but I've been wrong before. Now I've just got to look for that structure. I think it's there. And once I reach it... stop reloading. I want to say I have to get on just one side of it to trigger the cutscene. And our good old friend 343 Guilty Spark will make his debut appearance. No, do I have to get on top of it? There we go. Cutscene triggered.
Greetings. I am the monitor of Installation 04. I am 343 Guilty Spark. Someone has released the flood. My function is to prevent it from leaving this installation, but I require your assistance. Come, this way.
Now, I've got to say, Guilty Spark is a wonderful little character to have in the game. And I think his voice acting is done really well also. But in terms of making him sort of, an enemy and sort of a villain in parts, I mean, he's not really a villain. He's just kind of doing what he's programmed to do. But at the same time, let's just say I wasn't a fan of him being what is essentially the final boss of Halo 3. And I'm sure that, I think if I'm not mistaken, the developers weren't too keen on it either, but they just sort of ran out of time, maybe. And here we are to what will most likely be finishing off this stream, because it may take me a minute to get through this mission, what is arguably not only the worst mission in Halo Combat Evolved, but possibly the worst mission in Halo full stop, which is the library. And if I'm not mistaken, the length of this mission and sort of, some bits of it have just sort of been cut out in this remaster. I want to say I heard something like that. I could be wrong or have misread something, but I want to say that this mission was edited so it wasn't as lengthy. Because, yeah, things get a bit hectic. And this is kind of what I mean about the Flood having weapons. You throw so many, enemies at the player and just sort of have them... Oh god, I'm doing a terrible job at playing here. You throw so many enemies at the player that are just all charging towards you, or you've got these guys here that kind of, you get enough shots in them and they eventually explode. And just things go wrong so fast, so fast. And then I suppose the physics as well built around, this sort of the explodey ones, for lack of a better term. The physics around those and kind of how they bounce you around the map. I'm probably going the wrong way here. The physics around those of how they bounce you around the map and put you in a spot where you're not supposed to be. Especially considering that considering that this game with its jumping can be quite floaty. So it takes you a minute to actually get back down to the ground. And when you get forced up into the air like that, it's really both disorienting and at the same time, it just feel like you're up in the air for what feels like an eternity before you can get back down and sort of like get control of everything again. And I'm never a fan of games that take too much control away from the player. That was really bad. Let's try this another time, and it's taken us all the way back to the start of the mission. Fan Dabby Dozy. So yeah, this is one of those missions. I did mention earlier in the stream that there are some sections of Halo CE where... Wasn't there a shotgun on the floor there? No. There is... See, alright, here's where... This is kind of what I mean, where there are some sections where I feel like I just run. And there's probably a way to get through this in a more careful manner, where you pick your shots and you just kind of, go about things a bit more, let's say, tactically. But because of the way in which the Flood just come at you, and they just form a queue to just charge straight towards you, whether they've got a weapon or not, it's just, it's too much. It can get really overwhelming. 16-Bit Dad is in the chat again. Hello, 16-Bit, good to have you here. Also, I've missed a few other messages in the chat. I will get back to him in a sec once I get past this section. Open the door, Guilty Spark. Open the door, open the door, open the door. Please, God, open the door. Let's get a grenade down. Oh, I dropped my shotgun. Did not mean to do that. Alright, let's get through this door. Yes, yeah, as you said, Ludicrous Fool about... sorry, yeah, Too bad Guilty Spark made for an extremely easy and anticlimactic final boss for Halo 3. Couldn't agree more. And, you know, boss fights is something that Bungie have always struggled with or just completely avoided for the most part. There aren't actually many... there isn't really a single boss fight in this game at all. It's all just sort of, you know, scrapping with the, you know, the main enemies. There is no boss fight. There's a big climactic final mission where you're in the Warthog and all of that stuff, but there's no boss fight. In Halo 2, there are... Oh, overshield, that'll come in handy considering I've got one shot left in this shotgun. In Halo 2, there is a couple. One where you essentially beat up an old man in a chair. The Prophet of Regret, I believe it is. And one further towards the end, or, well, yeah, basically at the end of the game, where you take on Tartarus, the Brute Chieftain. And he's not that fun either. They just... I don't know whether boss fights for them were a bit of an afterthought, or whether it was just sort of something that they just, you know, kind of couldn't wrap their sort of like head around properly because they were focused on other things. But yeah, I've never thought that they've done boss fights too well. Full stop. They're great at crafting big moments, but not sort of delivering when it comes to creating enemies that are sort of fun to fight in that sort of like boss style. Ludicrous Fall. First-person shooters seem to struggle with boss fights compared to other genres. Yeah, I mean, you know, the format or the style of the genre straight up doesn't lend itself too much to boss battles anyway. Some folks have got it right. I feel like some of the more recent Doom games have done quite well in that regard. Even if whether you would consider them bosses or not is, I suppose, is another conversation. But yeah, some people do it better than others. But I don't begrudge, you know, any developer who doesn't quite nail it on the head, because essentially, as long as you get the shooting right and that feels sort of tight and snappy and just kind of, you know, the 30-second loop that you sort of go through from you know, shooting one enemy to the next, as long as that feels good and solid, then you're off to a good start. Everything else around that is just sort of, you know, is just extra stuff that you hope is good, but if it's not, then it's not necessarily the end of the world. I can't tell you... Yep, alright, Guilty Spark's going to disappear and leave me here to fend off the Flood by myself. I'm probably going to die a couple times, I hope I don't. Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of games that struggle with getting the basics right, but have sort of the extras around it, and without sounding like a Halo, an Xbox fanboy is probably the better term. Without sounding like an Xbox fanboy, I've always felt that a good example of a shooter that didn't quite get the core stuff as right as they should have, but did all the really nice extra stuff around it, was Killzone. Sneak peek for some of you, well, this will be one of my reviews coming up soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but it is in my schedule. Killzone, I've played 2 and 3 and Shadowfall, and I recently have been working through the first Killzone on the PS2. Not sure when the video is going to go up, but you can expect it at some point over the next month. Yeah, the shooting in that lacks something. but they do have nice sort of spectacle around them, and they do sort of Guerrilla Games. Obviously, they were kind of like early in their development back then. Oh, sorry, early as a developer, but yeah, they kind of nailed all of the other bits except for the core shooting for me. And maybe, you know, that's completely subjective, and plenty of people like the Killzone games because they have a good weight to them, and sort of this added element of animation and realism is a priority over sort of how it just kind of, you know, plays. Because at the end of the day, sometimes games can lean a bit too far into looking almost like too realistic, and they sacrifice the gameplay as a result. And that sounds ridiculous to some, and I know exactly what I mean when I say it, but it's sometimes it's hard to really convey exactly what I mean there. 16-bit dad in the chat. I really should play more FPS games. Yeah, I mean, I would say so, but I'm a big fan of FPS games. I would love to put together a list of, here, you should play this, but yeah, that would be somewhat, I don't know, arrogant of me. Ludicrous Fool, Killzone, I just hate that game, the first one I mean. And Casual Gamer, speaking on Killzone as well, controls on the first is terrible. Yeah, I know what you mean. From my time with it so far, there's a learning curve. And once you get over that learning curve, it is much more tolerable. But it's certainly not something that you can pick up and get stuck into and just have like this really good time and like play, you know, one or two missions and sort of like, oh yeah, I had a great time, and then I'll come away from it and, you know, get stuck into it again. It's it really is a game that you have to sort of commit to its control scheme. But like I said, you know, some people favour animation and realism over sort of like core gameplay, and essentially sometimes you have to put that stuff to the side, in my opinion, because the main thing for me is always, oh god, the main thing for me is always making sure that the player is having a good time and isn't too frustrated with it. If the player dies in a game and walks away from it saying that wasn't my fault, and providing he isn't just being a sore loser, or he or she isn't being a sore loser, and it actually wasn't their fault, then you've dropped the ball. It's much easier for somebody to get on board with gameplay when they die and they kind of go, fair enough, I should have done this instead. And that was always the trouble for me with Killzone, is there are some sections where, because of the sort of the weight that they try and put behind the shooting there, and how sort of they try and make the guns rattle in a way that it is realistic. But when a gun rattles so much that you can't get your shots off properly, and then you die about 5 times as a result, eventually that realism factor sort of wears off. Wow, that's a lot of enemies. Always fun to watch them explode. Eventually that realism factor and being impressed by that whole thing wears off, and you just get to a point where you're kind of like, okay, I just want to play the game now. Got some good rocket launcher ammo there. And I'm probably going to jinx myself now, but I've not died as many times as I thought I would in this section. You know, I mentioned earlier about this being one of the more boring missions, or if not the most boring mission in Halo history. And as you can probably see, this is the reason why. And it's a really poor level to what will most likely end this stream, because it's just corridor and swarms of flood, and then it's over. In the chat, Killzone has incredibly inaccurate weapons and it has absolutely no aim assist, which makes the basic act of shooting an enemy frustrating. Agreed. Ludicrous Fall, doesn't matter if you change the sensitivity, it's still shocking and it's hard to revisit. Agreed. Ludicrous Fall, that's not even mentioning the intolerably bad frame rate, which I swear sometimes drops into the single digits. Yeah, Killzone games are running like the depth and sort of like the complexity of some of their visuals and some of the effects that they're putting into them. The games is just crazy, and it does struggle sometimes running it. That first game, it's something that I'll definitely mention in my review. That there are times where the textures popping in is borderline, unbearable. 16-bit Dad, I heard people say Killzone is amazing, so I'm interested to see your review. It's a technical showpiece, is how I would describe it, 16-bit Dad. It's really nice to look at in moments. Screenshots of it look awesome. You put it in front of people and show them a demo, and you're like, wow. What it wasn't, and what it tried to be. And this is where I'm doing my best to not sound like an Xbox/Halo fanboy, is that the trouble with Killzone, and I don't know how I've got on this massive Killzone tangent. Well, I do, but I probably shouldn't have gone on this long. The trouble with Killzone is I remember it like it was yesterday, back when it was coming out. I actually went to, I was lucky enough to go to like a Sony event in the UK back in like 2003, late 2003, early 2004. It was in London. Oh god, that's not going to work out very well for me. It was in London, and it was kind of like this, like UK Sony only E3 style thing, but for regular folk like us, not journalists who have the inside track on that stuff. And you could basically go down and play all of the demos from Sony that probably were showed off at E3 a few months earlier. And I remember Killzone being showed off there and how impressive it looked. And I remember the chatter around Killzone back then in magazines and sort of like all of the websites. And they literally called it the Halo Killer, which is a really, really bad thing to do, because and well, actually, I don't know if Guerrilla Games called it the Halo Killer. It may have just been people who were really big fans of Sony and PlayStation and wanted it to be the Halo Killer. It was going to be the PS2's answer to Halo. It was going to have online multiplayer and do all this great stuff, but it was going to be like Halo but look better and da 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 da. The list goes on and on and on. And then when it comes out, and it's a fine game, but it's certainly no Halo Killer, that's where you run into trouble. That's where the comparison has worked against it in such a negative way. Whereas if someone had just said, yeah, this is going to be a fun shooter for the PS2, no one would have any trouble with it. Everybody would walk away from it and go, that was a nice little 8 out of 10, solid shooter. The PS2's got a decent online multiplayer FPS. We're good to go. But because it got the Halo Killer label, everybody just came through as soon as it was released, pointed out every single one of its flaws. Wow, what the hell happened there? Everybody came through during its release. Okay, we're just going to get checkpointed on when he's firing that rocket. Got ya. Everybody came through with Killzone's release, and obviously those who were a fan of Xbox absolutely shitted on it, and those who were not too impressed by Killzone did the same thing, and it never quite recovered, in my opinion. That franchise always lived in Halo's shadow because people bigged it up way too much, whereas it could have been this quietly underrated solid shooter, almost like Resistance went on to be. But no, people hyped it up a bit too much, and it took a left turn, let's say. But as far as that game goes, it looks really nice in moments, and trailers and screenshots make it look awesome. But when you actually get to sit down and play it, you start to notice its issues slowly, sort of one by one. and none of them are ever so great that you want to put the game down, but enough of them build up where you're kind of like, this game could have used a little more time in the oven. In the chat, Ludicrous Fool. The sad thing is, Shell Shock Nam 67, Guerrilla's other game in 2004, is better than Killzone. I've played and reviewed Shell Shock 67 on the channel. I did not get along with it. I thought the aiming wasn't too fantastic, but I probably had a better time with its gameplay than I did Killzone. But I think Killzone overall gets more things right. But the core moment-to-moment gameplay in Shell Shock 67, yeah, I know what you mean. But there are elements of Shell Shock where I'm like, oh, this game could have been so much better, if I'm being totally honest. I think I gave it like a 3 or a 2 out of 5 in the end. Because there was something about its controls that, yeah, didn't quite agree with me. Here is another section where we've got to hold out as long as we can. I will do my absolute best, folks, to not die too many times. Hopefully not at all. Because we've only got 12 minutes left of the stream anyway, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But we'll see how this goes. I've got enough ammo in this shotgun to hopefully hold people off and just kind of make it through. Oh. It could get tricky. It could get very tricky. There we go. God, this shotgun is satisfying. I think apart from the Doom shotgun, the Halo CE might be my favourite shotgun. There's a video idea listing the shotguns in first-person shooters. I can't tell you the amount of random video ideas I have for my YouTube channel that I never get round to making. Oh, is the door open? The door is open. Let's get out of here. I don't appreciate you taking your time with that guilty spark, but whatever, you got the job done. And hopefully as well you see what I mean by this mission, of just... This mission used to be longer, if you can believe that. There used to be more of this. It just used to go on and on and on and on. And... yeah. I'm not quite sure what the thought process was behind this, even though I've watched what feels like quite a large amount of like behind the scenes stuff for this franchise and stuff like that. I have no idea what the sort of the design philosophy was behind this mission, and unless they were just trying to extend things out to, you know, fill things up a bit, or maybe they were you know, intentionally trying to create a mission that felt sort of really sort of like long and like a bit of a grind, and you know, create this endless wave of enemies sort of like approach to the mission. Ludicrous Fall in the chat. Shell Shock is to date Guerrilla's only multi-platform game. Yep, you're not wrong. And Sony made a very wise decision by signing them up. 16-bit dads, wave levels like this bug me in so many games, honestly. Yeah, waves can be done well in the right scenario, but in this one, this is never a mission I have enjoyed. I've only attempted to get through this mission on this game's hardest difficulty, Legendary, once. I highly doubt I will ever try it again. Because, good lord, I've never experienced anything quite like it. Halo 1 Legendary, I said sort of in the last stream, is so much of a chore that it almost ruins the game for me. And, to be fair, there's a lot of like difficulty designs in older games where it's never about sort of creative, getting creative with making something more challenging. It's always just, we're going to make the enemy stronger and throw more of them at you. Whereas I'm always of the philosophy that challenging games should be more about limiting the player's resources and options. So not necessarily making it so that to finish a game on a harder difficulty you just have to have lightning fast reflexes, but you just have to make tougher decisions. One game that did that really well is Dead Space, where they basically just take all of your ammo away from you and make it so every shot counts. And I'm not sure if I'm going the right way. I feel like I'm waiting for a door to open. Or am I supposed to go through here? Or did I come this way? And this is why I don't like this mission, because you get confusing sections like this. Okay, well there's a health pack there, so that's sort of a good sign that I'm going in the right direction. And can you believe I've not used the shotgun? Ludicrous Fool in the chat. IDOS Interactive have expressed in purchasing Guerrilla before Sony stepped in, but it's interesting to think how different Guerrilla would have been if IDOS did purchase them. That's mad. I can't imagine IDOS purchasing anyone. Yeah, the idea of IDOS making any purchases is baffling. Oh, here we go again. I'm glad I've still got a lot of rocket launcher ammo, because if I were to die this close to the end and get zipped back to some awful checkpoint... Oh. Reload, 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 reload. Oh god. Probably wasted a rocket there. Everybody's blowing up. Alright, there's enough people left where I can just shotgun them to death. Gotta say as well, we're at 9 viewers at the minute, and again, worth repeating as we come towards the end of the stream, that is effing fantastic. All of you in this chat, cannot thank you enough. It's a lot of fun for me to finally get on stream. I don't want to go that way, I might fall down a hole. And yeah, as I said earlier, I was probably expecting like 2 or 3 people to be watching this. I know I got some decent numbers in my first one, but I assumed that was just because people were curious. So the fact that we haven't dropped off in a massive way does mean a lot. And we're coming to the end of this mission almost bang on 10 o'clock, which is some good timing for me there again. Only managed to get 3 missions done instead of 4 this time, so I probably have just enough time on my next stream, which will be same time, 8 till 10 on Thursday, to you know, get through the rest of the game and probably finish it bang on 10 o'clock again. Ludicrous Fool in the chat asking me to remember to check the link. Will do, will do. It's definitely something I need to look into further, especially as I look to expand some of the games that I play on the stream. Casual Gamer, keep continuing to do this. I absolutely will, you know, time permitting. And yeah, I suppose we're coming to the end of this one as we wrap up this last cutscene. But I suppose as I, you know, wrap things up, thank you again to those joining me. Truly do appreciate it. Hope everybody's had a good time watching me die more times than I should have on a game that I'm a huge fan of. And yeah, if you're not already, as I said, same name, Retro Game Rater. I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube. I put up a lot of poorly edited videos over there, and I will be back next, well, not next week. I will be back on Thursday at the same time. We'll finish off Halo. What my next game after that will be, not entirely sure yet. But yeah, that's I suppose that's it. We'll just round off this cutscene and save the game and quit out.
Unfortunately, my usefulness to
And yeah, now we get to witness Cortana giving Guilty Spark a good telling off as he tries to trick us into firing the Halo ring.
reserved for you.
Well, and then again, he's not really tricking us. He's more making a suggestion but being very careful with his words. Not really telling us that the Halo just basically wipes out all life as sort of like a form of defense against the Flood.
Cortana.
I've spent the last
So he's just kind of being very choosy with the truth there.
Cody about helping that thing get set to slit our throats.
Hold on now. He's a friend.
Oh, I didn't.
I love the animation of Master Chief in this. It's so,
Do you have any idea what that mask
understandably for the time period, it's quite basic, but
Raise defenses and destroy the Flood.
it's still quite fun to watch.
You mean this?
If anything, he becomes less animated as the game goes on. He's actually quite emotive with how he moves around in these games. And in later games, he just kind of stands there all stoic and just says cool lines.
Do what? I have the index. You can just float and sputter.
Enough. The
See,
Flood is
right there, that's probably the highest his voice ever goes in the entire series. I cannot recall a single moment in this entire franchise where he raises his voice, except for that moment there.
Humans, covenant, whatever. We're all equally edible. The only way to stop the Flood is to starve them to death. And that's exactly what Halo is designed to do. Wipe the galaxy clean of all sentient life. You don't believe me? Ask him.
Is it true?
More or less. Technically, this installation's pulse has a maximum effective radius of 25,000 light years. But once the others follow suit, this galaxy will be quite devoid of life. Or at least any life with sufficient biomass to sustain the Flood. But you already knew that. I mean, how couldn't you?
Left out that little detail, did he?
We have followed outbreak containment procedures.
Casual Gamer in the chat, the graphics for the time were amazing to see after the PR1 days.
Chief, I'm picking
And
up
yes, you are correct.
Do what you've already done.
We need to go right
I think I played a
now.
demo of Halo for up to 40 minutes in a, in a local store of mine, just because I was so impressed with how it looked. I didn't even shoot anything, I just wandered around.
Must activate the ring.
Get us out of here.
If you are unwilling to help, I will simply find another. Still, I must have the index.
Now 343's giving it the big talk. After we've been running around all this ring helping him, turning things on, taking out the Flood, doing all bits and bobs,
Dispose of the rest.
now he wants to act like a big man.
Look out.
And yeah. So, we have reached the end of the stream there. Once again, thank you for joining me. I'll be back on Thursday at 8. Yeah, we'll get this game finished off and hope to see you there.